Searching for a cheap copyright attorney? It's the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. Are you eyeballing this Medicare podcast, boy? His baby does the hanky-panky. It's Medicare expert Doug Jones.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. It's another beautiful day in Arizona, and you have arrived at the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. We are very happy to bring you another episode of our efforts to make people feel good, and then people meaning you, the audience. We want to make you feel good about crossing that threshold between Obamacare and Medicare. Medicare shouldn't have to be a scary, complicated, confusing, and frightening change in your life. It should be an improvement. It should be something that you look forward to, because often your insurance protection improves and your cost of that protection drops. Now, how do I know all of this? Well, because I read it in a book called Medicare for the Lazy Man 2022. That book is available on Amazon in any of four versions. It is available in hardcover, paperback, Audible, and ebook, Kindle ebook. So any of those that you'd like to buy. It's also available on Barnes & Noble. The advantage to the Barnes & Noble paperback, it costs a little bit more, but it has a very, very attractive set of colorful illustrations, mostly thanks to my friend Randy Carson, who orchestrated that and made the book look really, really nice. The other, the Amazon editions are a little bit less expensive because taking the color out, it turns out it saves a huge amount in the retail price. I'd rather have the book accessible to more people than to have it look pretty for those few who really appreciate the colorful illustrations. Now, often what we do is we play our 30-second radio spot. It is a short, concise way of telling you how to access all the information we put out. Plus, I just like hearing it. I love the Rolling Stones. I love the fact that they showed up for a recording session just for Randy and me. So I'm going to shut up now and let Randy play that. Medicare is complicated. Medicare can be confusing. Medicare is no fun to study. Will you know what decisions to make when Medicare time arrives for you? My name is Doug Jones, and I wrote a book to help you figure it all out. Medicare for the Lazy Man. It's on sale at Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. Also, you can download and listen to my podcast, Medicare for the Lazy Man, wherever fine podcasts are given away free of charge. Medicare for the Lazy Man, simplest and easiest guide ever. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. Okay, let's bring Randy in now and see what he's been up to lately. I'm sure he's had a fascinating weekend, and I can't wait to hear about it. Hello, Randy.
Did you say fascinating weekend?
I did. I was hoping to hear that you had a fascinating weekend. If I'm wrong, let me know.
I don't remember anything fascinating. Let me think about it.
That could be part of the fascination, is your memory was damaged.
I don't remember anything of any noteworthy concept going on.
Well, good. This worked out nicely. I brought in a guy who has nothing to say on the podcast that's Audible only.
Well, I do have some things to say.
Well, say them. Say them.
Had nothing to do with. I left some hanging chads from one of our last episodes.
Oh, I remember as being soundly thrashed by a series of questions about Stone Mountain and other giant carvings.
Yeah, Stone Mountain. We talked about Stone Mountain, but some of the other things that I left on the list for potential hanging chads and newsworthy things to talk about in the next podcast was, in your opinion, Doug, you're an expert on insurance and many other things. What is your opinion of the Fed raising the base rate by a good percentage point, greater than they've ever done in 20 years, I guess it is, to try to slow down our economy when people don't have any money to begin with?
Well, I've got a few opinions on that. I would say that my opinion of zero level interest rates, where interest rates have been for a long time, makes it tough for investors, people who want to put money away safely. Treasury bonds, no interest there. Bank accounts, no interest there. So it's tough for people who want to save cash and earn some interest at the same time. So raising the interest rates alleviates that particular situation. Now, raising the interest rates to slow the economy, I'm never in favor of slowing the economy. I want business to boom. I want to have commerce increase, and I want people to see increasing value of their money, not decreasing value like inflation causes us. So I don't know. I think I gave two different answers to your single question there.
Well, I'm curious, and I understand the positioning there, but it's at a certain level, it seems counterintuitive to me to slow the economy. And of course, you just answered the question that slowing the economy is not something you're in favor of, but slowing the economy when people are having a pretty hard time, putting, food on the table seems totally counterintuitive to me.
I agree, because what you want to do is speed up the economy so that people have more ways to earn money and more ways to be productive. And that way, increasing productivity counteracts any inflationary tendency that you might have. And overall, it benefits everybody. So
right.
I'm just flummoxed by what our current administration thinks is economically sound policy. I would disagree with it. And I think the problem is they've had opportunities to look back in recent history. When I say recent, last 50 years, it's been like a roller coaster, and they should know what has helped the economy and what has hurt the economy. My conclusion is that our current administration does not care about improving the economy. All they want to do is consolidate power. And unfortunately, they've got somebody in the driver's seat who doesn't know how to drive anymore. And so,
I don't think he ever had a driver's license.
I did see an episode of Jay Leno's Garage where he interviewed him about his 64 Corvette. And so he did at least know how to start a Corvette and drive it around.
But did he bash it into anything while he was doing
it? Not that was shown on the show. If he did, it was cut out of the final editorial or editing of the show.
And since you're a Corvette guy, did you notice, did it have any big rubber baby buggy bumpers on it or anything?
No, it didn't. I think maybe as he was vice president when that was filmed, and I'm thinking that he had enough Secret Service guys to stand wherever the car might have run into something solid so that they would cushion the blow.
Yeah, lash a couple Secret Service guys on the sides. There we go.
Exactly. That'll soften the impact when we hit something.
There you go. So anyway, I just had to bring, and the other question, kind of a related question, is by the Fed raising the rate by a considerable margin, at one fell swoop, they haven't done that in decades. Do you see that having any impact on Medicare supplement plans? Is there any cross bleed between those two things?
Well, it already had an impact, because in the fall, actually probably in the summer, they're thinking about it, but in the fall, they announced the following year's changes in deductibles, coinsurance premiums, and things like that for actual Medicare. And these announced changes for 2022 were the largest that I've ever seen. The Medicare Part B premium went sky high by comparison. It went up like $20 a month. And that's unheard of in my experience with Medicare. The various other costs associated with Medicare also went up. And that makes the people feel a little insecure when it comes to their confidence in the future value of their benefits. In other words, if the government can raise my deductible by a substantial amount willy-nilly without any particular reason for it, then they could do that every year. And pretty soon I'm walking around with a huge deductible that I don't want to have to pay if I get sick. So that was one thing. Now, they did have a couple of excuses for it. And once the excuses were put out there, I've never heard about them again. So I think they were bogus excuses. One was about this new Alzheimer's drug. Well, we have to plan for paying for that for people. It's so expensive.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah, Alzheimer's. They said that about smallpox way back in the day too.
Exactly. But if these guys jack the rates up, the premium, the monthly premium, and the deductibles and everything, in order to defray some of the cost of that Alzheimer's drug, I have forgotten about it. So maybe I need the drug.
Yeah, I that just sounds terribly bogus to me, Doug, because we are raising the rates in anticipation of additional costs over a drug that's really not, well, I guess it's on the market, but they don't know what overall impact it's going to have in that particular community.
They don't even know if it's going to work on anybody, and they're not giving it to everybody, which would justify a big increase in the cost of Part B and an increase in the deductible. They said we're only going to give it to people who are in studies. They're in clinical studies. So, it's not even that many people that are going to have a chance to get this drug.
Yeah, the control group will probably end up being better off than the guys with the drugs.
I think you and I are in the control group. So
I am the control group. I'm always in a control group.
Well, that's what I found out. I was approached years ago to be in a control group or to be in a study done by Harvard and Brigham and Women's Hospital. That's a silly name for a hospital, but it's a big one in Boston, I guess. So they asked me to join up, and I said, "Sure. What are you testing? What are you researching?" And they said, "We're trying to find out if cocoa extract and if daily vitamin supplements can reduce strokes, heart attacks, and something else." And I said, "Sure, I'd like to do that if it's possible to have that done." And so I was in that study for 5 years, and I got the results. The results were inconclusive.
Inconclusive.
The good part for me was I could stop taking these giant horse pills they made me take every day. So my life got a little simpler.
So speaking of Boston, our mind goes all over the place. You see my T-shirt today?
I didn't see it. The Green Dragon. Okay. Now, why do I remember the Green Dragon?
The Green Dragon Inn is a very, very famous pub. Just
yes,
forever old pub in Boston where supposedly some of the original folks getting together to figure out how to get the Brits out of here were meeting.
Yeah. Well, I love Boston. I used to go to Boston all the time because I was with the John Hancock in my early years in the business. And I never went to the Green Dragon pub. I just, I don't know where it is. I never made it that way. But the one place I dearly loved in Boston is now closed, unfortunately, but it was called Durkin Park. It was a steakhouse on the second floor of a really like a 200-year-old building. And so I went there with a whole bunch of people, only one time, but they specialized in prime rib. So I thought, oh boy, how can you go wrong there? And so the servers were all a bunch of middle-aged women, and they were rude. Well, I want to say brusque. And so I was with 22 people. It was a group of us from a home office school. If you remember the old John Hancock Institute, we were all staying at the John Hancock Institute, and they'd take us out for dinner. And so 22 of us were sitting at this long table. The chairs were rickety. The table was rickety. This giant dining room was full of similar rickety, banged up furniture. And I was thinking, boy, this place really sucks. And when the waitress was going around the table, I was irritated for some reason. I thought, well, how am I going to be able to get back at the people that are irritating me? There's only one way I can think of. When the waitress got to me, I said, by the way, we want separate checks. And I thought, okay, that'll show her. She said, no problem, sir. And that's when I realized something's going on here. So I pulled out the pamphlet that I put in my pocket when we got to the entrance. And sure enough, it's all like a big game. And they're pretending to be brusque when in reality, you're getting terrific service. And when they came out with the prime ribs, all these prime ribs were about 3 inches thick. And each woman was carrying about 5 plates. It was plate, prime rib. Stacked on top of that was another plate, another prime rib. And stacked on top of that, and they had stacks of these things. Then they doled them out like cards. It was a fantastic meal, and that place had been around forever. And I guess it's closed now, but probably COVID did it in because those people were real politically correct. They all wore masks, and it's hard to eat prime rib with a mask on.
It's tough to get a prime rib in your face with a mask.
Right. So I think it became a victim of the panic.
Well, you know something? We probably I have about 5 minutes left in our podcast here.
God
so
almighty.
We've talked about Medicare stuff, not directly, but we probably should get off on that particular topic. But before we do,
yes,
I'm going to issue a challenge.
Already,
people on the podcast that are from Boston. I want you to sit down at your computer and I want you to send an email to Doug at dbj@mlmmailbag.com, dbj@mlmmailbag.com, and I want you to tell him all your stories about the Green Dragon Inn in Boston, because I have not heard about it for a long time. I haven't been there for a long time, and boy, am I jonesing to hear about it.
Well, sometimes I get it confused with Tavern on the Green in New York, because we had a marketing contest, and a broker of mine won the contest and was awarded a festive meal for like his whole family at Tavern on the Green in New York. And I think he went to New York just to enjoy that. People from New York really love Tavern on the Green just because it has the word green in it. Obviously, I was confused. Also, here's another challenge. I'm going to issue a challenge to Randy. I have a question. The question is, how do you make Crazy Horse out of a stone mountain, a mountain of stone? It's a 2-step process, and I will reveal that process later on, but maybe Randy can be thinking about it. He can maybe predict what the process is, and I'll share that with him later on.
Okay.
So I made a list, a very ambitious list of articles to plow through today. So I think we're out of time for that. But here's one thing that I happen to notice. We have in recent podcast episodes talked about how these Medicare Advantage behemoths are looting. They figured out a way to loot the Treasury of billions of dollars, not every year, but billions over the long haul. And the way they do that is they enter into an agreement with the federal government, with Medicare, basically, to sign up a bunch of people, provide insurance coverage for each of these people, and then they accept payment. So there's a per head payment that they accept from the federal government. Let's say it's $2,000 a month or something like that. Well, then somebody came up with the bright idea that if there are sicker than average people in their group of insureds that sign up with them, then they should be compensated in additional funds for those people that are sicker than average. So the government somehow went along with that premise, and they said, look, we don't want you to weed out anybody who might not be healthy. We don't want you to cherry pick your clients and taking only the healthiest ones that aren't going to cost you that much money. So we will pay you extra for people that are sicker than average. And that way you will be able to maintain your profitability, and you'll be able to continue offering your Medicare Advantage crapola to the public at large. And you'll be able to hire Joe Namath and Jimmy J.J. Walker to do your stupid TV ads. So anyway, what happened was they started figuring out how to find out who among their insured members might qualify to get additional money paid from the federal government to the insurance company, to the Medicare Advantage plan. And the way they do that is they devised a couple of different ways to encourage people to give their whole medical history. Now, they don't have to give their whole medical history for any reason at all. The law says that Medicare Advantage plans are going to cover people, all comers, without question, without regard to their medical history. And so that's the way that the people get into the plan. Once they're in the plan, the insurance company can earn more money from the federal government by finding out which of these people might be sicker than average. So how do they encourage people to fill out the questionnaire? Well, they have their insurance agents get bribes. And so I've got an announcement from one company that I printed out here. I'm holding it in my hands, and basically they're offering a larger amount of money than anybody else I've ever seen for each questionnaire that can be collected from a new member of their Medicare Advantage plans. So they said beginning on May 3rd, that's about a week ago, the payments for the questionnaire, for the health risk assessment questionnaire, is going up to $125. Now, the highest I've seen from a different company was $50. Every agent that signs up somebody gets a commission, a very generous commission compared to the commission that we Medicare supplement agents collect. That's a pittance by comparison, but the extra money stays in your pocket, ladies and gentlemen. So anyway, the Medicare Advantage salesmen collect a very hefty commission each year for your participation in a Medicare Advantage plan. Plus, they can, if they can sweet talk you or threaten you or frighten you into filling out a health risk assessment, then they will earn another $125 each. And what is the health risk assessment going to show? It's going to show which of you or your fellow plan members might have things like diabetes or heart problems or cancer or other medical conditions that the federal government has been suckered into paying the insurance companies extra money for. So if the insurance company can point to the members of a plan that are sicker than average, they can collect even more money and siphon even more taxpayer dollars right out of the federal treasury. So I just wanted to say that efforts are increasing. It's like a bounty. I think it's like a bounty hunter used to collect money by bringing in somebody dead or alive. In this case, the agents selling Medicare Advantage plans can collect a bounty on each individual that is sicker than average. They may even go out looking for people that are sicker than average. But each time they fill out a health risk assessment questionnaire, they can collect a bounty on the head of that person. So we're not seeing a slowdown in their efforts to collect taxpayer funds from the Treasury. Now, I bet we're way out of time, aren't we, Randy?
We are, but I do have a question.
Ask away.
Going back to your concept there of bounty hunting, I would be willing to bet, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because you're the expert, but let's say, for example, that during that bounty hunting phase, they found, a few people filling out questionnaires and being submitted back that had, berry.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah.
So I don't think it's widespread in the United States, but let's say they had berry.
Okay.
And so does that, I'd be willing to bet. I'm a statistician at heart and I love statistics. And we always used to say that figures don't lie, but liars can figure.
Yeah.
If you take, let's say that they got 12 responses back of people having trouble with berry. They then extrapolate that into their whole audience, right? So they're getting a good sizable chunk of billions back over the course of time for the people with berry, right?
Yes, absolutely. I'm not sure that they can actually. I think they've been slapped down when they've been caught extrapolating, because we've read a couple of articles about whistleblowers who have discovered the act of extrapolation and have called it to the attention of the federal authorities. And I believe those companies have been, if not fined, certainly drawn up short. So the government doesn't want them to extrapolate, but we're pretty sure the extrapolation goes on because the rewards are very substantial.
Well, if somebody's paying you $120 for some
125, excuse me, 125.
125. Oh, it's getting better yet. $125 for, just asking a few questions on a questionnaire. That they're making bigger bucks off of that than 125.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's in the neighborhood of a couple of thousand during the course of a year. Now, the other thing is we read an article about a lady whistleblower who discovered that they were also misdiagnosing people. They were changing the diagnostic codes to make them appear to be sicker than they really were. Now, it comes into fraud as far as I'm concerned, because they're lying about the facts being the actual physical diagnoses that their members have been told that they have. So it's a slippery slope. But when the government allows people to dip into the Treasury, they're going to find that people get very creative and they figure out how to do it even better than the government anticipated that they could do it. They wind up giving away a ton more money than they ever thought they would.
Well, I know that just shocks me that anybody would do that, Doug.
I know, but we've seen it time and time again. It's not like we're spring chickens.
No, I definitely wouldn't fall into the spring chicken category.
So my question to you is, if you wanted to, if you could, how would you make Crazy Horse out of a mountain?
Well, first I would need some dynamite.
Okay. I think that's like a sub-step.
Then I would need a mountain.
There you go. That's step number one. Acquire a mountain.
Acquire a mountain.
How much simpler could it be?
And then step two is to get a whole bunch of people to come visit your mountain and say, see up there, someday in the next 453 years, there's going to be a monument to Crazy Horse up there.
That's what they're doing at the actual Crazy Horse monument. Step two of my two-step process for making Crazy Horse out of a mountain is, one, get a mountain. Number two, remove everything that's not Crazy Horse. Now, I think that could take you a few hundred years, so you're right about the timing.
You're right. And I've heard that's I love that expression. Just remove everything that's not Crazy Horse. It's such a straightforward approach. I don't know why they're taking so long.
I don't know why everybody can't be a sculptor. I know. What do you want to sculpt? Well, I want to sculpt a statue of King Kong. Okay. Just take that big rock and take away everything that is not King Kong.
Oh, I love it. That tickles me to death. Well, we probably need to close up shop here. We've had a good episode. I've thoroughly enjoyed this episode, but we are running over time just a little bit. But the people in the audience, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget my challenge. Send your opinions and your stories about, what is it, Doug?
Oh, the Green Dragon. Boston, USA.
The Green Dragon Pub in Boston. Tell us all the stories about it. And also road trip.
It's I got it in New Orleans. So it has something to do with New Orleans. But I'm upside down. I can't really tell. So we'll talk about that next time.
Okay. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have to sign off now. We're looking forward to seeing you all again next time. But you have spent about 32 and a half minutes with Doug Jones, the insurance guy from Oklahoma. And as I've said for a couple episodes, watching over the town of Cave Creek with his binoculars from his fortress of solitude way up high in the mountains. Doug Jones.
Bye. Goodbye.